LGB. 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 LGB.
They say LGB everywhere I go. LGB. What it means, I don't know. LGB. Whatever it is. LGB. Kamala, help me, please. Please.
Alrighty then.
Thank you. LGB.
That's let's go, Brandon, right?
LGB.
This means let's go, Brandon.
Go. LGB.
Sounds like let's go, Brandon, I guess.
LGB. All right. Let's go, Brandon.
I am Cornholio.
Chant LGB. Right wing and left wing. LGB. Go, you know the thing. LGB. If you don't sing that back. LGB. And you ain't black. LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message.
Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas, this July 7th, 2024 at 3:02 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Yes, I am live, and I will be presenting one piece for you today from the inimitable Naomi Wolf. Before I do that, I just want to remind everybody here that this show is brought to you in its entirety by Rainfall. Rainfall is a thing you can indulge in right now. Rejuvenate your skin with nature's touch. The essence of nature cascades into your daily skincare ritual like a refreshing rainstorm, crafted with a soothing aloe vera base celebrated for its healing and moisturizing prowess akin to nature's life-giving rain. Rainfall enriches your skin with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that nourish and rejuvenate. Its natural enzymes and anti-inflammatory properties soothe like a gentle rain, deeply hydrating dry, irritated skin, complemented by a blend of premium cold-pressed organic plant oils, each selected for their unique benefits. Rainfall is your sensuous escape to radiant, supple skin. Guys, I put it on my skin, and the first thing that I notice is the amazing aroma of benzoin, which is kind of like vanilla, but more of a woodsy kind of vanilla. And one of the effects that the benzoin has is that it takes the so it balances out the castor oil, and the castor oil is an amazing thing for your skin as well. It's 1% castor oil that we put in there. You put any more than that, it gets too sticky. Believe me, a lot of trial and error went into this. But go to tulipblooms.shop. Tulipblooms.shop. Use promo code Shapiro to pry 10% from my grasping hands. You can also get it now at epicminerals.net. Also, promo code Shapiro. It makes dead skin fall right off. It heals sunburns, and it absorbs immediately, so you don't have that greasy afterfeel. Check it out. You can also go to rainfall.life. That domain name works for most people. Anyway, get the product now. We've got some supply right now. We're about to run out, but you can get some right now. So check that out. All right, let's do our piece for today. Today's piece is from Naomi Wolf, and it is entitled What Time It Is, I think. There we go. From NaomiWolf.substack.com. What Time It Is, The Imprisonment of Stephen K. Bannon, by Naomi Wolf. On July 1st, 2024, the U.S. detained its most prominent political prisoner, its most obvious political prisoner probably since the incarceration of Japanese Americans in World War II. On July 1st, 2024, podcaster, entrepreneur, former Navy officer, and political advisor to President Trump, Stephen K. Bannon, surrendered, in his words, to authorities to begin serving 4 months incarceration at Danbury Federal Prison, FCI. Federal Correctional Institution, Danbury in Danbury, Connecticut, is a serious prison. The handbook, which all inmates receive, reveals a range of minute restrictions on liberty and even on any adult decision-making that characterizes strict incarceration. Stephen K. Bannon, now one of the loudest and most powerful dissident voices in America in our time, will have no access at all to the internet, according to FCI Danbury Inmates Handbook. Could that one condition alone be the actual end goal of the sentence so assiduously sought? As I have pointed out elsewhere from my experience in the world of AIDS around President Clinton and VP Gore, everyone advising the president and VP relied on the protections of executive privilege, and they do so to this day. Mr. Bannon is being treated with a shameful double standard. The myriad restrictions on every aspect of an inmate's daily life at FCI Danbury reveal that while this is a quote-unquote minimum security prison, there is at that facility an approach to incarceration that is mentally wearing and institutionalizing. Looking at these prison regulations, one can see from where the global mental torture of COVID-era lockdowns, the minute regulation of time, space, decisions, options, may have derived. Lockdown itself is a prison-derived term. Mr. Bannon will receive a set number of points a month for visitors, and each visit uses up these points. He will need to submit to authorities in advance a list of visitors and fill out forms for each. Each visit will need to be approved. Points are used up for metrics as random seeming as the distance the visitor travels. Mr. Bannon will be awakened at 6 a.m. every day, and if he oversleeps, there will be disciplinary action. He can possess no more than 20 postage stamps at a time. He will be able to shop at the commissary, but with a limit of $360 per month. Visits restrict human contact from family members. Kissing, embracing, and handshaking, hand-holding are allowed only upon arrival or departure. In force for all but 10 minutes a day is controlled movement, which is not clearly defined in the handbook and can only be imagined by those of us outside the prison. Inmates within it are permitted, quote-unquote, open movement for just 10 minutes a day. Running and jogging are not permitted at all. There are 5 inmate counts a day. Phone calls are limited to 15 minutes each for a total of 300 minutes a month. Can we hear from Steve Bannon? Can we hear from him at all? Inmate correspondence with representatives of the news media. An inmate may write following special mail procedures to representatives of the news media when specified by name and title. The inmate may not receive compensation or anything of value for correspondence with the news media. The inmate may not act as a reporter, publish under a byline, or conduct a business or profession while in BOP custody. Representatives of the news media may initiate correspondence with an inmate. Correspondence from a representative of the news media will be opened, inspected for contraband, for qualification as media correspondence, and for content which is likely to promote either illegal activity or conduct contrary to BOP regulations. End quote. Interestingly, there is a rich offering of educational opportunities in this prison. Bannon can take martial arts, use the legal library, receive subscriptions, learn ESL, English as a second language, or complete a GED, get religious instruction, or accomplish any number of other educational tasks. He can send snail mail. However, Bannon's voice has been effectively silenced by FCI Danbury for the critical next 4 months which just happen to overlap with this make or break, do we survive as a free nation or die, presidential race. The War Room posse cannot mass in the visiting room. They can't see him. His globally successful podcast cannot broadcast his actual voice, as I understand the prison regulations. Mr. Bannon can't even follow the presidential campaign via online news. He can't tweet. He can't live stream. He can't record for later transmission. His mass movement mobilizing, unyielding, Constitution defending voice has been cut off from the flowing lifeblood of journalism and of politics, from the digital world. The 1,001 restrictions that circle his every action round in the next 4 months will require tremendous fortitude to resist psychologically. His physical incarceration seems like a secondary outcome of what seems to be the primary goal of his sentence, that is to say, the removal of Steve Bannon from the stream of public conversation, public guidance, public mobilization, and from the public resistance to the murderous globalist plans for us all. So let me say this. Where the hell are you, everyone? Where are you, conservatives, libertarians, independents? Hell, where are you, liberal Americans? Anyone? Anyone who claims to care about an open society and due process of law? Where are you, freedom lovers? Where are you, alt media? Do you not realize what time it is? I look at the reaction to Bannon's imprisonment, which is, with the exception of a few horrified podcasts and a handful of distraught articles in the alternative press, a non-reaction, with astonishment. I am amazed that millions of ordinary citizens who should know better, and thought leaders who should know better, and elected officials who should know better, all seem blithely unaware of the lessons of history. Do you think that if you ignore what has happened to Mr. Bannon, that you will be spared? I have been warning since 2007 in my book, The End of America, about the sequence of steps that tyrants always take in order to close down an open society. Since 2020, we are in the U.S. at step 10 of the 10 steps to fascism, that is, at the point of enduring emergency law. We have, as the whole world saw during the recent presidential debate, that true symbol of a banana republic, a puppet leader. But in the last few months, the hallmark final events signaling a murdered democracy have started to unfold in earnest. This is the stage of the physical mopping up of the opposition. Independent commentator Mark Stein, against medical instruction, though seriously unwell, crossed the ocean to appear at a judicial hearing in London, of which Ofcom, the UK government media regulator, explained that the agency was entitled to destroy his career, reputation, and livelihood because of the quote-unquote harm he had caused by reporting the truth about dangerous mRNA injections, some of which have now been pulled off the market in the UK. Podcaster and commentator Alex Jones asserts that federal agencies are trying to shut down his studio, and he has been compelled by a judge to pay $1.5 billion to the families of the Sandy Hook victims, a judgment that is forcing him into bankruptcy. Epoch Times, the third most read digital publication and an independent voice regarding issues ranging from President Trump's campaign to the events of January 6th to the COVID injections, has been hit by a major reputational attack via a hard-to-follow story involving bank cards, unemployment benefits, and the alleged financial misdeeds of a CFO who has denied the charges. Dr. Joseph Mercola, a major independent medical voice critical of pharma, was debanked due, he believes, to his views on COVID. What you need to understand is that debanking, loss of medical licenses, deplatforming, fines are all mere annoyances that go along with the late-stage decline of free civil societies. But the physical incarceration of critics, signaled now by the imprisonment of Stephen K. Bannon, means we have passed a point almost of no return. Once they take your body into custody, anything can be done to you, in addition to the suppression of your voice. One of the scary things about FCI Danbury is that inmates have a, quote, responsibility to accept medical treatment and follow medical treatment protocols. That could mean anything. Mr. Bannon would probably dismiss my concerns. His courage and that of his daughter, Captain Maureen Bannon, is unimpeachable. His farewell speech, given just prior to his surrender to imprisonment, is one for the history books, delivered with that elan of a Celt wading into a throng of vicious enemies, swinging a sword and shouting with the joy of battle. I barely know Mr. Bannon personally, except in my role as a guest on his podcast, but I recognize in him a patriot, a brother in the fight for our nation's liberty, and a hero for our times. Though I don't agree with him on any number of policy concerns, I recognize that he is the general on the battlefield of the freedom movement, a general for all of us, of whatever political stripe, who love our country and will not see it die if we can help it. Sometimes I have expressed to him anxiety about the future. I come from a whining subculture. Whenever I do so, he responds sternly, "Stop." And then he adds, "Get to work." So I assume he would not condone the worry I have, not just for him, but for us all. Those of us who are left unruined as yet, unincarcerated as yet, are braced for what may be coming our way. We are checking our food and water supplies, checking our security systems, and we are training peacefully with firearms. My worry is that once you are in their physical custody, whoever they are who wish you silenced, whether this custody is in a quarantine camp, a restricted hospital setting where loved ones are not permitted, or in a prison, they can do anything to you. Once they take your physical body into custody, we have arrived at that notorious 6-month period in 1933 in Germany. Quote, within days of the Reichstag fire and the resulting presidential decree for the protection of the people and state, February 28th, the Sturmabteilung and SS escalated the violence against Nazi political opponents. Thousands of communists and social democrats were arrested and jailed. In March, April 1933, an estimated 40 to 50,000 political foes were taken into protective custody, Schutzhaft, and imprisoned in concentration camps. The SA and SS routinely beat up and tortured political opponents and vandalized, looted, or destroyed leftist parties' offices. Sometimes individuals were murdered. Not even individuals holding political office at the local or national level were safe from such violence. Some 500 municipal administrators and 70 mayors were forcibly removed from their positions by the end of May 1933. By the end of spring, the violence had spread to non-leftist political figures. On June 26th, Heinrich Himmler, the head of Bavaria's political police and the head of the Nazi SS, ordered his forces to place all Reichstag and state assembly representatives from the Bavarian People's Party in protective custody, quote unquote. In this period, the SS informally seized opposition leaders and civil society leaders who had stood fast against their party and ideology. They seized union leaders, journalists and editors, outspoken religious leaders and elected officials. They seized prominent people of all kinds. They marched them off. They took them into informal custody, basement prisons, and beat them, and eventually released some of them to tell the tale of their abuse. Or they disappeared them. People heard about these basement prisons. They were scared. They went quiet. They complied. In 6 months, civil society had ended in Germany. They complied, just as you, national political leaders, thought leaders, are scared and going quiet and complying in the wake of Steve Bannon's arrest, hoping that this silence will buy you freedom from a similar fate. So many people in the freedom movement are dead. Perhaps it is all just coincidence, just bad luck. Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, who warned presciently in December 2021 that the COVID virus was a bioweapon, that the COVID vaccine was premeditated mass murder, and that we are in World War III, is dead. Dr. Carrie B. Mullis, who invented and exposed the limitations of the PCR test, is dead. Dr. Rashid Buttar, a member of the disinformation dozen, quote unquote, claimed that he had been poisoned and shortly thereafter passed away. Italian MEP Francesca Donato, who was a vocal anti-vaxxer during COVID and criticized the Green Pass system that restricted the travel of the unvaccinated in Italy, lost her husband. He was found dead in a Land Rover. Are all of these accidents, losses, and mishaps irrelevant? Your silence will not protect you. To quote poet Audre Lorde. I was going to die, if not sooner than later, whether or not I had ever spoken myself. My silences had not protected me. Your silence will not protect you. What are the words you do not have yet? What do you need to say? What are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you will sicken and die of them, still in silence? We have been socialized to respect fear more than our own need for language. End quote. 6 months after the SS's detentions and beatings began, after these silences of others about the detentions and beatings, the National Socialists consolidated their power. And that was the end of the chance to speak out, till that party was defeated in a bloody world war. That's what time it is now. Leaders from all walks of life, you fools. This is where we are. If you don't speak out now, they won't pass you by. That is a false calculation. It won't be Steve Bannon next time, and thus not you. Because of your silence now, next time, it will be you. And that is the brilliant Naomi Wolf. That's right, Naomi Wolf, my good friends. And now, that's naomiwolf.substack.com, naomiwolf.substack.com. And now I'm going to do a piece, an original piece, not original by me, original by Dawn Billy, and we'll see what happens. So 07072024. Sorry, I have to save these things when they're original works. All right, there we go. And bam. All right, don't forget, guys, you need to go to try rainfall.life. If that doesn't work, tulipblooms.shop. I really love the domain name rainfall.life. That's what we got. Now, I'm having trouble seeing if it resolves. So do me a favor if you can and go to rainfall.life. Let me see if I could put that on the screen right quick. Hold for processing. Is this it? Hey, guys. All right, so just try rainfall.life. Press that, and then if I put that there, I can put that right there. So check out rainfall.life. I want to see what your response from the server is on that stuff. Hey, Frank, we have an actual viewer on Twitter saying stuff. That is appreciated. I really like it when people chat on Twitter because it's harder to figure out how to do that. I also appreciate Leonard tweeting, chatting on YouTube. You don't see many of those. And of course, I'm always appreciative of a guy named JC Bird. Anyway, thanks to everybody who's chatting right now. So I'll just list you off. Frank, Leonard Coleman, Jojo Guns, Creaky Crawdad, AJC III, Brandon Tyler Gentry, and of course me. Check out rainfall.life and get the very best lotion the world has ever known. Check out epicminerals.net, guys. Don't forget, you've got to detox from all of those toxic heavy metals in the air, in the water, in the food, in everything else. My God, in the injections. 10, 20, 30 sprays a day. Depends on your level of needing for detoxification. It goes right in your mouth. You swallow it. It's great. Zeolite binds to the heavy metals and gets them out of your system. All right. Who's ready, guys? I'm excited. Dawn Billy and her new piece, The Only Way is the Military. Do you remember the atmosphere in the United States on September 11th, 2001, or the days immediately after? We were in a state of shock. Life was surreal. Most of us were fortunate not to be directly affected by the disasters that were playing out around us. But that didn't lessen the despair that we felt for our country, waking up on the morning of September 12th to find flags placed in every yard in the community made our hearts swell with pride. We were a nation devastated by the attack on us. It was time for us to come together, to support one another, to rebuild our great nation and protect it from those who wish to harm us. There was patience, respect, and love for our neighbor. It was us against them. Are we approaching a moment in time when we will once again be jolted awake to the attacks on our nation? Does anyone else feel that it is necessary for us to experience another jolting event to awaken the American people to the attack that has been perpetrated against our country during our lifetime and likely much longer? Nothing changes if nothing changes. A 9/11 type scare would most certainly wake up the masses without the death and destruction, of course, but something to snap everyone out of their stupor, stop in their tracks, and ask, what is happening? We've heard the stories of where were you when Kennedy was assassinated or when the towers fell. We need a story that starts with, where were you when you found out that our world has been run by greedy, evil criminals who have enslaved us for hundreds of years? It's the only way. Of course, this is all speculation. No one knows anything. If we have learned anything during this time, we've learned that it is imperative that we think for ourselves, that we do our own research. We need to search actively for data to confirm or deny our beliefs. That is exactly what I'm doing here, attempting to confirm or deny my belief that this is the only way. The military is the only remaining agency with any credibility with the American people. I'm sure at some point most of us have seen some version of a post on social media that mentioned the military taking over our technology, phones, televisions, internet, and broadcasting 3 times 8-hour loops of video confessions and military tribunals of our corrupt government in order to awaken the American people. Since no one can claim to know anything, and it sounded so outlandish, we dismissed it and moved on. But what if it isn't so outlandish? What if it has some resemblance of the reality to come? Trump has to win in 2024. There is no way around it. How can we assure a Trump victory without cheating ourselves? Our country requires unity. It is us against them. The only person who can get us there is Trump. Admit it. He understands the depth of the deception to which we have been subjected. Although we want to believe that everyone loves Trump as much as we do, that just isn't true. There is still a great deal of hatred for Trump in this country. He's in your face. His in-your-face, truthful, brash style is a breath of fresh air to those of us who are tired of glossy, slimy politicians lying to us. But the truth is that many in this country are so accustomed to handsome, fit, well-spoken liars that it is difficult for them to stop organizing politicians in those perfectly formed boxes. And that's the point with Trump. He has been trying to teach us to look behind the curtain, to see these liars for what they are. How many Americans are disillusioned with the voting process, regardless of how dedicated we are to voting, no matter how many new voters we register, no matter how many get out the vote campaigns we post, people will refuse to vote. Our vote doesn't matter. How many ways from Sunday can we be shown that the 2020 election proved it again? No matter how hard we tried to get anyone to listen to us about the fraud, no matter how many provable instances of election fraud there were, Trump was not inaugurated on January 20th, 2021. Why would 2024 be any different? Nothing has changed. I am not telling you not to vote. Get your ass out there and vote no matter what. Our country requires healing. So many people are unaware of what has happened over the last 8 years that it's a little frightening. How do we continue on as we have been, just waiting for an election, hoping things change? So, there's an election in November, and somehow they allow Trump to win. How do we ensure he has a team of loyal American patriots supporting his agenda to fix this country? Down ballot elections are of concern too. We have not eradicated Marxism from our country. We need the people to understand the brainwashing that has occurred. We need them to understand that it is us against them. We need to unite. We need a jolt We need to jar people awake. We need to be sure that communism, socialism, Marxism is never allowed to creep back into our country in the future. It is our generation's responsibility to leave this country in better shape than that in which we inherited it. That means change. Hard, significant, major change. An election isn't going to do that. No one wants the stress and anxiety that we experienced during 9/11. We also don't want the daily stress of working 50 plus hours a week trying to make ends meet. We don't want our children indoctrinated into believing the United States, the absolute best place on earth, is a horrible country to be ashamed of and ridiculed. In order to see change, we must push past our comfort zone. How many people have you experienced in your daily life? How many of your family members need to be pushed past their comfort zone? How do we begin to heal if some of us don't understand the depth of the injuries we have suffered? Because many don't. The United States needs to become the phoenix of the West. Phoenix, noun, in classical mythology, a unique bird that lived for 5 or 6 centuries in the Arabian desert, after this time burning itself on a funeral pile and rising from the ashes with renewed youth to live through another cycle. We need to, metaphorically, burn it down to rise from the ashes. It's the only way. As I like to do, I began an exercise of what if to talk myself out of the idea that we need an earth-shattering event to wake the people up. What if there isn't a big reveal? Well, if Biden wins, we'll say they cheated. If Trump wins, they'll say we cheated. Will those of us who are still asleep ever understand the depth of the depravity we have been exposed to? Will they ever come to trust and support Trump and future America First presidents who work to right the wrongs of the past? Will we always suffer division, black versus white, Democrat versus Republican, rich versus poor? Will we ever know the level of corruption of our elected officials? Will elected officials who committed crimes be held accountable? Will the corruption continue? Will we have term limits? Will we have valid elections? Will the taxation that is crippling us continue? Will elected officials who participated in election theft be prosecuted? Will we learn how elected officials corrupted their offices so it is never allowed to happen again? How do we drain the swamp if people aren't aware of the depth of the swamp? If Trump wins the election and begins to prosecute the criminals, will the people say it's a vendetta? If Trump wins the election, will the next 4 years be like 2016 to 2020, where they spent more time fighting him than working for us? How do the American people unite? Us against them, not some of us against some of them, not some of them against us and Trump. There are so many reasons why the people need to be awakened with a loud, blaring, startling alarm. Our elected officials, the corrupt politicians who worked to destroy us, almost got away with it. Slowly, methodically, with a great deal of patience, they tightened the boot on our neck. The slow rise of inflation, the addition of new or higher taxes, put us in a position that it is impossible to function without a 2-person income. We work 50 plus hours a week just to make ends meet, come home from work, cook dinner, help the kids with homework, get them ready for bed, prepare their lunches, cut the grass, do the laundry, clean the house, on and on. We're exhausted. We should be expected to pay attention to what our elected officials are doing, to pay attention to who is running for office. Why? We can't change it anyway. The media lies and tells us what they want us to know. How do we, the people, fix this? These papers help me to organize my thoughts. I don't need to convince anyone that I'm right because I'm not even sure I'm right. My desire is to have others read this and provide feedback to determine if my thoughts make sense and if my theories are valid. Citing sources is important for me to support my ideas, but this one is particularly difficult because it's just a theory. There are no credible sources to confirm this theory. Common sense and critical thinking are my only support. That, and focusing on what doesn't make sense, such as the June 27th debate between Joe Biden and President Trump. According to the New York Times, this was the first debate, quote, set before either candidate has officially been nominated, and, quote, no general election debate has ever been held earlier than September 21st, nearly 3 months later than the June 27th date, end quote. Why was the debate held so early? The Commission on Presidential Debates usually hosts debate. However, Biden requested that news organizations host the debate rather than the commission, which has organized the debates for every presidential election since 1988, end quote. Why CNN? Biden requested that there not be a live audience. According to KGW8, an NBC affiliate, this was the first debate since 1960 that was not held in front of a live audience. Why? Could it have anything to do with the subject of my paper titled J6, A Different Perspective? We all know how the debate turned out. Biden was a disaster. He came across as feeble, mumbling, and incoherent at times throughout the debate. It looked like the man really needed a chair. Don't hate me here, but in my opinion, President Trump's performance was mediocre. He made some good points, but mostly used his time to dispute the hoaxes that Biden brought up. It felt like a typical debate between Trump and Biden, except that nothing about this election period is typical. Biden shouldn't be president. Remember, they stole the 2020 election. The moderators, CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, were insignificant and appeared bipartisan. Gasp. According to the AP, quote, CNN determined ahead of time that Tapper and Bash would be questioners, not umpires. This was a much different platform than debates of the past. Although there was a brief mention of the 2020 election theft when Dana Bash asked President Trump if he would accept the results of the election, any real, meaningful discussion of the theft was non-existent. Why? Why wasn't Trump shouting from the minute he stepped to the podium that the debate is a farce? This whole election, the last 4 years, have been a farce. Where several independent journalists speak of the election theft often, as we should, Trump rarely mentions it anymore. It's almost as if he is trying to distance himself from that story. Why? To sum up, I believe it is more than likely that between now and November 5th, we will be subjected to an earth-shattering awakening that will educate all of us of the evil that has taken over our country and what has been done to correct it. This will come to us without the fog of war that we've been living under. There will be no room for misunderstandings or doubt. President Trump will be removed from all of this and will emerge afterward, acting as shell-shocked and surprised as all of us. I don't know how and I don't know when, but I feel that this is necessary to return power to the people. At the beginning of this paper, I asked if we are approaching a moment in time when we will once again be jolted awake to the attacks on our nation. A 9/11 type scare would definitely wake up the masses. When I typed a 9/11 type scare, it hit me. For years, I thought Q's scare necessary event referred to a nuclear scare. Read Q drop number 521. And see if it doesn't fit with the theme of this paper. Keep in mind that Patriot Day is September 11th. Q drop number 521 of January 13th, 2018. We are fighting for life. We are fighting for good. We are at war. At symbol. Not everything will be clean. Scare necessary event. Do you trust the U.S. military? Do you trust the chain of command? Have faith. We are in control. Patriots, Patriots Day. Have faith. You were chosen for a reason. You are being provided the highest level of intel ever to be dropped publicly in the history of the world. Use it. Protect and comfort those around you. Where we go one, we go all. Q. And that is the latest piece from Dawn. Billy, thank you so much. Can't wait for your next piece, Dawn. And you're just going to be hearing that straight here from Reading Epic Threads until she decides to start a Substack, I guess. DWC 2021 points out Dr. Lee Merritt believes there are 150 people who own everything besides BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, Orsini, DuPont, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, et al. Funny that you mentioned that. I was just listening to Dr. Merritt's new show, Thinking Outside the Box, on Rumble. Check her out on The Medical Rebel on Rumble. I can't wait to talk to her again in public. Guys, go to tulipblooms.shop, epicminerals.net. Guys, use it. Use that website to get the best lotion. Oh my God. The aloe vera soaks in. By the time I begin the St. Michael's prayer, which is going to be any second now, the moisture is going to have completely absorbed into my face. Dead skin will come right off. I mean, I've already kind of cleaned it off, but whatever's left will come right off. It's amazing. Go to epicminerals.net, go to tulipblooms.shop, try rainfall.life, for goodness sake. Any site where you see it in the description of this video, it'll take you to a place where you can buy Rainfall. Don't forget to get your Zeolite extra spray to kill all those damn heavy metals that they keep putting into our atmosphere and into our food and to our water and to our environment. There we go. I think it puts me at 15 sprays for today. Check it out. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. It really helps when you do that. I think that I'm getting back into the swing of things where reading Epic Threads is concerned. Just biting the bullet and just doing the show. And hopefully these will get a little bit longer because I'm feeling pretty good about it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I just remember, I try to get this show squared away 6 full days a week at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. So anyway, let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you tomorrow.